Stall out. Stall out. got a group out of Mahoney Valley.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through? But that's a doggone season that he won't try something new. A man who's old enough to know. Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you. Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight? A long man who brings a job a fresh new point of view. Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you. And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed?
It's God to which we must be true.
So it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair? Who'll raise your hand against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy and the change that's over. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
Welcome from my humble second bedroom here in the Saucon Valley in what used to be known as Lower Saucon Township. Now it's Bethlehem Landfill Township after they purchased our township council. The Saucon Valley is part of the Lehigh Valley in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, part of these United States on this planet Earth, the only one we have. Third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system, part of this Milky Way galaxy. This is the Kennedy Effect live with you for September 18, 2022. Going to be an interesting program today. We have literally no scheduled guests. Part of that, not all of it, should probably take these off because even it's funny, if without these, I can't see what's in front of me. With them, I can't see you out there. Partly my fault for getting my schedule screwed up. Ben Watts, who is running for office in the great state of Oregon, running for the United States House, come and think of it, for the United States House of Representatives from the great state of Oregon. I believe last week I told you that he would be here today. That was my mistake, not his, my mistake. And I had him on my guest calendar for today. That was incorrect. He will actually be with us next week. So that left us as a production team, so to speak, with nothing nothing to do today. Well, I shouldn't say nothing to do, but no one on the docket. Let's put it that way. No one scheduled for today. So it's just going to be myself, Kristin when she gets back into the room, and you talking for as long as we can talk. You know that our airtime is from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time. Kind of got a feeling that that's not going to happen today. Don't think we're going to make it to 9 o'clock today, but you never know. You never know who's going to call in. You never know what who's listening, who will pop in. And of course, you are all welcome to do that. We will, we strongly, especially today. I mean, every show we do it, but we strongly should suggest today. This is an excellent time to give us a call. Probably a Sunday that I should have maybe canceled the program because even Randall, even our dear friend Randall, is skipping us today because he went to a music festival. And you know what? God bless him, by the way. God bless him. He should. He should. But it's just, I'm only giggling because it's kind of one of those things that, like, you know, if Randall's not with you, might be a day that you don't want to have a program. But hey, we shall soldier on. And let me get through the business end of the program, wherever you might be, across the Facebook universe, and to every single page and group and individual, every last one of you that allows this program to be on your little corner of the metaverse. We are very, very, very grateful. We could not be here without you. Yes, you can talk about Facebook and internet radio and commercial free and all of that. And, you know, you don't have to deal with the FCC and all that fun stuff. And all of that is true. But the bottom line is, if you all were not watching and or listening, we would not be here. We simply can't do it without you. So, I mean, please understand what I say. And I know I say it every week, so it probably sounds almost mundane at this point, but every last one of you, we're very, very grateful. Every single group, every single page, including the TCP Facebook page and the Hot 101 Facebook page and Facebook group. Every group, every individual, every page, everything. We could not do it without you. If you, wherever you might be, on the Facebook, in your corner of the Facebook metaverse, so to speak, please feel free to stay there and enjoy groups like the New Deal Democrats, the Progressive Party, the AOC Progressives, the Las Vegas DSA, the Metro DC Medicare for All group, our groups out in Oregon, the Organizers and the Oregon Democrats. We have a new group that joined us recently, literally, I think yesterday or the day before, from Mahoning Valley here in PA, an area that we didn't actually have a group in, I don't think. But just thank you. Thank all of you. And I could read through. We shared the program to 108 places this week. That is a new high, if I'm not mistaken. That is a new weekly high, 108. We were right around 105 for a good while. Seems we have added some groups, and that's terrific. Stay right where you are. You can continue to watch there. But if you want to comment or communicate, exchange with me at all, I need you to come to the home group Facebook page or call on the phone. I'll get to the phone in a second. If you want to just comment, communicate with us through comment, he tried to say, I will only see them if you come to our home group Facebook page, that other side of information, I will open up the phone line way earlier than I normally do, because it's going to be calls, comments, or not a heck of a lot of a program. And again, it is completely my screw up, totally my screw up, getting my schedule all messed up. So wherever you might be on Facebook, that other side of information is exactly where you can come, and I will see your questions, comments, yell, scream, agree, disagree, whatever it might be. To our dear sisters, brothers, and friends and family at hop101.net, thank you again, as always, for allowing us to be part of your Sunday evenings, or depending on where you are around the world, maybe your Monday mornings. We appreciate every single one of you, and it will never cease to be an honor for me to be part of the hop101.net family. I could not do it without you as well. So wherever you are listening around the world, hop101.net, if you have friends, family, coworkers, if you play it inside your businesses, you're listening in the car, you're streaming to a speaker, whatever it might be, and you want to share the good news of hop101.net, and you should exactly do that. If you enjoy our station at all, please share it. Tell other people about it. Tell them that it's a great listen. You can listen to hop101.net very, very simply. Our web address is our name. It's hop101.net. You can listen on your desktop, laptop, tablet, phone, Bluetooth speaker, smart speaker. You can tell Alexa to play hop101.net. If you have an Apple device, you can go to the Apple App Store and find the app for hop101.net. An Android device, you can go to the Google Play Store. You can find our app there for hop101.net. And if you should have any other type of device, like an LG or Motorola or something like that, go to the Tune In Radio app. Go up to the search bar, search for hop101.net. You will find us there. There's nowhere you can't find us. And we invite you to do exactly that. Find us and check us out. Tell your friends about us. It's a great, great listen. And also, of course, our friends at TCP, the Cultured Professional, their very large Facebook page and Roku channel as well. I believe we're still on Tuesday nights, if I'm not mistaken, on TCP. And if you have not watched any of the programming TCP or any of the live events that they go cover, sports, cultural events, like really wonderful cultural events, dance, plays, art galleries, street fairs, it's a brilliant watch. Please check them out. I'm very, very humbled and proud to be not just part of TCP, but friends with the people who drive it and run it and make it happen. And I wouldn't be The show wouldn't grow without them as well. Three real big pillars of how we do our program: Facebook, hot101.net, and TCP. So check them out as well. I want to start off with something that I found out literally as I sat down to start the program. And it's interesting because I don't quite know how to take it. It is new for me, and I'm just not quite sure what to do with it. Let me start this way. It's been a very busy weekend and a very busy day. And neither Kristin or I are feeling terribly well, but then again, we almost never feel well. We just attended a political event, which I will tell you about later in the program. We got home actually pretty much when we were planning, rushed to get everything in from the Jeep inside. Like a dummy, I forgot to turn the AC on. It's 80 degrees in here. Right now in the studio, it is absolutely boiling. I think it's got to be above 80. If you hear a lot of buzzing in the background, there are fans going all over the place in here. And as the AC struggles to catch up and cool the house down. But we got home at a pretty good time and plenty of time to get set up. I was still, I think, maybe 60 seconds, 45 seconds late to hit the button to hit the opening theme song for you, but we got everything done pretty good. We're all ready to go. I have a couple of minutes to glance through some emails. You know how it is on weekends. We're not as attentive to our emails as we would be on a weekday. I had a ton of them piled up, was able to get rid of most of them, and then I found an email from YouTube telling me that our program from last week had been removed. Now, if you remember last week, I talked a bit in the beginning about the Nazareth Together event. And then, of course, our guests were Jennifer, PJ, and Trenton from the Jennifer Shikaitis for Senate campaign. And then at the end, we had another couple minutes to chat. Well, according to YouTube, and this is not the most exciting radio, but let me see if I can find. Here we go. Well, why don't I just read this to you, because it makes no sense to me, but maybe those of you, if you watched the length of the program last week, you will know what YouTube is talking about, because I don't. So let's just see. Hi to me. Our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our community guidelines. We've removed the following content. And what they removed was my show from last week. How your content violated policy. Content glorifying or inciting acts of violence is not allowed on YouTube. Now, YouTube is 1,000% correct. Never should they allow any type of content that would incite violence. They are correct about that. Seems to me that it's just common sense and a natural. But as I thought about our program last week, and I must admit, I do not expect that I'll be sitting down to watch all 4 hours of it again, because it's still all over Facebook. Facebook hasn't said anything to me. to try to find out where the heck I was inciting violence. So I wrote back to YouTube to ask them for specifics. What in the content incited violence? And the only thing that I could think of, even remotely, is when I was discussing the Nazareth Together event, an event about inclusion, an event about how all people, if you're breathing, not breaking the law, not hurting anybody else, you're welcome in a community. And I mentioned during my discussion of said event how there were Proud Boys there, and that quite a number of us were told and felt threatened by their presence, and that we didn't know if they were armed or not. And we knew they were Proud Boys because they were, forgive the pun, proud to announce it. So is that what possibly broke the code of conduct, the policy, the guidelines, as it were? My discussing how I thought I might get shot at a rally? Does my describing how I might get shot at a rally incite any of you to violence? If it does, this video is going to get removed too. So I'm curious. Now, again, I'm not condemning YouTube. They're an enormous, enormous part of Google, which is enormous sum of all of its parts. And they should be screening their content. It's their platform. We might think what we put on there is ours, but once we put it on there, it's kind of not ours anymore. It's theirs. It's their platform. I have no problem with them reviewing things. Of course, it took them a week. It's kind of funny. But there's not, and I have the email right in front of me as I look at you in the camera, or try to, like a actual professional. And I mean, I have the email right here. There's nothing specific in here. So I have written them back, and apparently I missed this before. I guess I got a little too angry. I'm stuffed up again. There is a place where I can appeal this decision. So I will do so. And I will ask them to tell me what in 4 hours. We did 4 hours last week, or did we do 3:45, something like that? To tell me what was inciting violence. It's extremely interesting. Very, very interesting. And especially since we have no advertisers to tick off, we have none. It's not like I can offend all of my advertisers. We don't have any. But it's okay. But again, it's kind of a mixed bag. I don't blame them. They should be reviewing content. That's a good thing. In this modern era of division and misinformation, and misinformation is a bit of a sanitized term, but in this era of extreme propaganda, just outright lies to get people to vote certain ways, hate certain people, overlook their own economic and or medical status to vote for other billionaires, they should be reviewing content. It's a good thing. I'm just thinking about my program interviewing a candidate and two of her staff, how that incited violence. It's a mystery. It is a proper mystery. But again, I'm looking at it right here. Review your content with our policies in mind. If after reviewing your content, and I ain't sitting through 4 more hours. I did the show. I know what was in it. If after reviewing your content, you think we made a mistake, let us know. You can appeal. And I think that's a great thing. I'm just mystified at what came out last week. And if any of you out there were with us for the entire program, somebody tell me what was, somebody tell me, because I'm missing it. I'm missing it. Alex mentions your forced I can't, I'm all wound up. Your first needless YouTube delete! Exclamation point. You're a bona fide content creator now. Congrats. I guess. I guess that's one way to look at it. I guess that's a harmless kind of way to look at it, but yeah, I guess. I guess. Alex also mentions that maybe I ticked off an advertiser. Well, I don't have any. And when I go to my channel to share content, I don't see any. Ads don't run in the beginning of my videos. But then again, possibly there's somebody out on the right just trying to take a shot across the bow, complaining about something that isn't there. This is a wide-scale effort that happens in right-wing media and right-wing circles to try to take folks like me out. I do not know that that's what that's that. Bleh. Try that again, kids. I do not know that that is what happened, but it's a possibility. But I don't know it for sure. But it's a possibility. Easy thing to do, you know. How easy is it to complain about somebody's profile on Facebook? It's a couple of clicks. You don't need to even provide specifics. You just get to complain. So maybe somebody complained. It very well could be that. Or I'm wrong. I could very well be wrong. And maybe I need to review it again and find out what was in there. I don't know. But I'm the one, I was sitting here for the entire show. And I can tell you, other than describing the Nazareth Together event and openly talking about my feelings that I would not have been surprised had I been shot, I don't get it. So it's interesting. It's interesting. And Alex is 100% correct. It is my first YouTube deletion. It is my first deletion. And they deleted the entire bloody program too. That's pretty something else. Not even just the section where they think I violated but we'll have a go. You know, we'll check it out. We'll find out. We will appeal to the digital gods and see what they say. So anyway, we'll take a look at that. But I just thought it was interesting. Maybe you all think it's boring as hell. I don't know, but I thought it was interesting, and it is a first. And it makes me think that this program has gained a level of traction. Yeah, traction is probably the right word. Traction that I had not been aware that it had gained. Because now this happens, I've also gotten a series of complaints through Facebook that I was using copyrighted other people's music. We don't play music on the program. We play the opening song, which I've been playing for years. No one has sniffed at it. But I think about on 3 different occasions now, I have gotten complaints and had my show removed from Facebook because I was using copyrighted content. And then it listed, though, here's the good part. If there is a good part, here's the good part. You played these songs by these artists. I absolutely did not. First off, I couldn't name them. Never heard of the song, never heard of the artist. And even more simple, we don't play music on this program. It is a talk program. Hot 101 plays tremendous music. If you haven't tried them, try it. You will love it. Myself and the show that follows us. I don't know why I can't talk today. The Kennedy Effect and the show that follows us, Villain's View, Sergeant Mac, are talk programs. We do not play music. And Facebook on 3 separate occasions now has taken my show down to tell me you used copyrighted music. It's really hard to use copyrighted music when you don't play it. And again, this might be a boring first half hour to you, but no guests. These things happen. This kind of happening. I just found out about this when I sat down to get the computer started, get the show up and all that fun stuff. So I thought I would mention it to you. 5:29 Eastern time here on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in the United States, in the Eastern time zone. 4:29 Central and 2:30 Pacific. And wherever you might be around the world, we thank you for being part of our program and for allowing us into your homes, your speakers, your phones, your computers, your Bluetoothing in the car, your earbuds, whatever it is, however it is you take in the program. We deeply appreciate you for being part of our program. Over 3.5 years now, program has been going and we appreciate it. We couldn't do it without you. Almost October. We're into the latter third here of September. Wherever you might be on Facebook, please feel free to stay there and enjoy the program. However, if you would like to comment, question, interact with us, please come on over to our home group Facebook page. That other side of information, we will see your comments just as we have with Alex right here. We will see your comments. We'll read them on the air. We will generate a discussion out of it. Be a part of the program. Come on over to our home group Facebook page, that other side of information. Hot101.net, Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and the Tune In Radio app. I am not kidding, folks. If you do not know how to listen to hot101.net, there's no way to miss it. And I beg you not to miss it. Make it part of your day. The DJs on Hot 101 are fantastic, and we are a great little family. The text thread that we have with all of the hosts at 101 is something to behold. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's downright strange. We get schedule conflicts worked out, get to know that everybody's healthy. Sometimes we get to know everybody's not healthy. But it's quite entertaining. It's not for public consumption, folks. Let me just say that. It's an adult chat, but it is funny. These are good guys and gals, and you should be checking them out. And I hope that you do. Hot101.net. Our name is our web address. Again, Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and the Tune In Radio app. And you can tell Alexa to play hot101.net. TCP is the cultured professional from Lancaster, PA, and we're proud to be part of their family. Check out TCP. No one covers the community, from politics to community events to school events, sports, street fairs, the arts, like TCP. Please make them part of your day as well. And I will put the phone number up on the screen. If there's anyone out there feeling saucy, come on in and give us a call. Second thing I wanted to mention is where Kristin and I came from today, because a couple things sprang out of it for me. We come to you fresh off of a fundraising picnic for heck, she's got a brilliant way of making you feel very close to her and making you feel like you've been friends for decades. And it's a wonderful, wonderful skill. It's a skill regardless whether you're in politics or not. This particular person happens to be So we went to a labor. I should look up the actual name of it. It had a title. It's kind of like a celebration of labor event, fundraising picnic for Pennsylvania State Representative Maureen Madden. And it's interesting because the invitation for this event came to us personally. Yes, they put out a broad Facebook invitation, created an event, shared that event, a million different places, but our invitation to it came to us directly and came to us personally. And that's a big deal. I've always tried to, if I'm invited somewhere personally, to show up. So we went, and it was wonderful. And I'm not going to say that it was anything more than it was. It's not like there were, carnival games and rides and all that stuff. It was burgers and hot dogs and pasta salads and just good people. And it was I shouldn't say is a beautiful day outside. It was in a nice park setting in the Poconos. For those of you around the country, if you're not familiar with Pennsylvania, Interstate 80, where it crosses from New Jersey, that's kind of the touristy Pocono Mountain region of Pennsylvania. It was a nice community park, in that area. Representative Madden has as I said, has an uncanny ability to make you feel as if you've known her for decades. And she was actually watching the program last week because I saw her name come up on Facebook. But as we were walking toward the pavilion where this was, she sees us and says, "There's Jeff Kennedy and Kristin." And I've never been in a room with Representative Madden, like literally never. She only really knows me from this program. And for her to be so personable and so nice and so conversational and relaxed, and to invite us personally to this event meant a lot. And it was a wonderful, wonderful event. But what I wanted to mention about it is that I looked around a bit as we, just to see the number of folks that were doing the heavy lifting, cooking everything, setting up tables, hanging banners and balloons, and handing out literature. They used the event as a distribution of yard signs for, oh my goodness, probably 8 different candidates. Some of the folks came to the picnic and then we're going to go out and door knock. And it occurred to me that event today is very, very much what politics is and what it should be. It was a very visceral, tangible, live, in your face demonstration of what political parties should be. And if I'm not being overly optimistic, it's what the real strength and power behind political parties should be. And I think is, to an extent, but definitely should be. And I mean the Republicans as well. Folks that put on that event today were your dedicated Democratic volunteers. Maybe they were precinct committee people. I know there was a township council person who was there. There was a mayor from a small town who was up there. But everyone else who was doing this were just volunteer. I don't mean just volunteers. I mean, but they were volunteers. They weren't elected officials. They weren't rich. They didn't hire people to put all the food together. None of that. These were volunteers. And it occurred to me, and not that this is a new revelation. I'd like to think it's not a new revelation. I really, really hope it isn't. I think I'm more self-aware than that. That this is what makes a political party operate. Folks like this, who always do the work. You need food, they make it. You need to secure a location for an event, they do it. You need banners and balloons and flags, they bring them, or they buy them and they hang them. You need someone to take tickets, take, good old fashioned sign-in sheet. All of that. These are the folks that do that. And political parties cannot run without people like that. I don't care what party you're talking about. Libertarian, Republicans, Democrats, Greens, whatever. And you might be thinking to yourself, that's pretty naive. Because we all know that politics has been overrun with money. And it's true. The Citizens United decision, most recently, then the Buckley and Vallejo decisions back in the 70s, really opened the door when Justice Powell created law out of nowhere to say that money was speech. Citizens United, of course, codified that to say that corporations were people. But it's easy, I think, to get too jaded about that. And I do it on occasion. I get myself very, very run down, very depressed, very cynical that, it doesn't matter who knocks doors. It doesn't matter who hangs the flags and puts the signs out and puts these picnics and fundraisers together. It's whoever has the money. But yet, talking to Representative Madden today, and she said it, and you kind of might think to yourself, well, of course she's going to say that, except for the fact that it's true. She told Kristin and I a little bit of her own history, that her very first race, she lost by, what was it, 500 and something votes, she said, or 3 something. It's like 346 or 546, something like that.
500, 600, yeah.
And she spent $250,000 in that race, $250,000+ in that race, and lost. And that was 10 years ago. She came back 2 years later, ran again, and won. And she mentioned to us that 2 years ago, in 2020, she ran. She only spent $70,000 and won in a landslide because people like the job she's doing. Even folks from the opposite party, they like her and they like the job she's doing. So why do I raise that? Is this a campaign commercial for Representative Madden? It is not. But it does make me realize, it provides to me, I think, a clarification, a justification, and kind of reinforces my hope, my wish. I think it brings it to reality that when someone like Representative Madden can go from spending $250,000 down to $70,000 10 years later and win bigger and bigger and bigger each time, that the job that a person does in office does still matter. And that gives me hope. Not just if someone came into her district, dropped $500,000 and bought the seat, but that she can run for reelection, spend right around 1/4 of what she did 10 years ago and win by bigger and bigger margins. So it means that the job that she's doing means something. And that gives me hope. And also to see the 50 people that were there, maybe all loyal supporters, volunteers. Again, folks that were going to go home and either knock doors, make phone calls, send more texts. To see that makes me more optimistic. It is people. The rich would have you believe that only the money wins. Sometimes the media would have you believe that only the money wins. And goodness knows, folks, there are lots of times where that is exactly the truth. But there are times when it is not. And I believe that Kristin and I we were welcomed, but we were also fortunate enough to see that today, that politics is not completely rotten to the core. There are chunks that need to be cut out of it, but that the whole of it is not rotten. We saw a representative who wins by doing the job, and the people around her who help her get there. I mentioned to Kristin on the way back that I think too many Americans, and quite frankly, for those of you listening around the world, I think too many citizens from almost any country tend to think that all of politics, the whole of politics, is whomever the president is, whomever the prime minister is, whoever the speaker of the house is. They forget about the 50 people that we saw at that picnic today who just do the work, who push the policies, who get people to vote, who get people to become invested and interested in the process. Yes, it's money. And yes, here in the United States, President Biden is the titular head of the Democratic Party. But so much more than that. The Democratic Party is people that we saw today. And that makes me happy, gratified, and optimistic. And politics is people like Representative Madden who have simply worked for the people she represents. All of them. Republican, Democratic, Green, policy, whatever. And continues to get reelected. So that gave me some hope. Don't know if it gives you some hope, but I do hope that in your areas, whatever state that you are in with us today, wherever you might be listening around the world, that hopefully what we witnessed today is happening in your area. Maybe you're a precinct committee person responsible for a section of your town, your township, your city, wherever you live. Maybe you are deeply, deeply involved in what's going on in your political party. Maybe you're not, as you listen to this around the world. Maybe you vote, but you don't volunteer. Okay, I can understand that. And maybe you have been so jaded by the process, by media, by all the bad news, by all the car crash kind of news and stories that you don't intend to take part at all. And that's where what we saw today comes into the discussion. It is almost cliche to say that you are the government. It sounds like a very trite, simple, maybe even patronizing sort of cliche, except for one thing. It's the truth. You are your party. You are the government. If you don't like a policy that government is pursuing, then change the people pursuing it or visit them. Go see them in their local offices. If they never come to the local office, then go find out why. Call DC, call Harrisburg, call Albany, call Trenton, call Madison, Wisconsin, call Tallahassee, Florida. Say something. You are the government. And if you are not a volunteer in your local political party, if you're a registered Democrat and you do nothing, if you're a registered Republican and do nothing, it is harder to hear your complaints. And I think this has become, especially at this time in American history, I think this has become especially important in the Republican Party. Every poll, some primaries, show that the majority of you are not happy with what has happened to your party, with the fact that it has no platform, that its first reaction to everything is violence, or to scapegoat yet another minority group, that the only thing they seem to stand for are tax cuts for billionaires and corporations. There is a measurable, sizable, it might even be the majority of registered Republicans who feel that way. Well, if you don't like where your party's going, then go get in it. Or am I wrong? That all that remains of the Republican Party is whatever Trump says. But there's polls that show that as much as 60% of the Republican Party, registered Republicans, don't like what's going on. They're done with Trump. They don't like the Trump candidates. They don't like the fact that every time the wind blows the wrong way, we scream about trans people. So if you don't like it, go do something about it. The same way that we encourage Democrats to do the same thing. You don't think the party is progressive enough for you? And stop throwing rocks at it from outside. Go in and go change it. And that has happened to a great extent. It might seem like a hell of a lot to take away from one summer picnic, and it certainly did feel like summer. But sometimes it's these I don't want to say small events because that event today took a hell of a lot of planning and a hell of a lot of work.
They had really good turnout.
Yeah, and they had excellent turnout. And there's probably hundreds of events like that happening across the country on a weekend, all the time in this country. But this is the one that we were at. So this is the one that I gather my observations from. But do something. If you don't like it, do something.
Well, and I think the point that you're getting to is that politics and government is often more local than we think of it. We nationalize it because the media has become more increasingly more consolidated and nationalized. But a lot of the political parties are, your PCPs in your neighborhood. Yeah, that almost sounded like a Sesame Street rhyme. But anyway, but the people who make up your county committee, they're the people who are going to go knock doors, get the signs out, pick the signs up after election day, work the polls, check in and greet at the polls.
But and
Do the
have those
phone calls.
conversations too. Have those conversations. You Democrats are trying to fill in the blank of complete BS that we hear every single day. It's those folks that are saying, no, actually, no, we're not. Here's what's happening. And we don't win all of those conversations. We don't. But it's literally, again, an overused cliche. It's the grassroots folks that are having those conversations, making those points, educating their friends, family, and neighbors. And it was I don't know, maybe I'm being overly sunny about it, but it was a hopeful day. I took a lot of hope from it. I really did. You did too. I don't think I'm putting words in your mouth. I mean, you did too. Not to mention it was a gorgeous day out.
It was a gorgeous day.
And by the way, whatever those folks did to cook a burger, a burger that good, and it really it's not. I don't know what they bought. There was something in it.
That was a well selected burger.
Oh, it was brilliant.
And it was beautifully cooked on a flat top.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
That was county fair. Good.
Yeah, it's better than that. That's better than that.
Oh, Bloomsburg Fair
For
has
me,
good
just saying.
burgers. I'm just saying.
Well, you know what? We would have known how good a burger Knoebels had if
You could have gotten burger. Are we going to talk about your love of Knoebels?
told you what I wanted and you were busy. Let's go to this coaster. Let's go to that coaster. Let's throw our bodies completely out of whack and break bones and
I'm not going to need
pull
an
muscles and
adjustment.
everything else.
I think I got a free adjustment on the Phoenix on Saturday.
There's not enough time in this program to talk about how much I love Knoebels. And for those of you out there who may not know what Knoebels is, just send me a comment and I will explain it. I will send
or Google.
I will send the link to you. Something. I don't just
It's heaven on earth.
It's a throwback in a very, very good way. If you live in a very modern place, I mean, locally, nothing jumps out at me, but if you're listening to us from Los Angeles, or I mean, let's just be blunt, as you go west in the country, there is less history because people lived there less time, unless you're dealing with the indigenous population. That's not exactly my point at this time. There are homes and farms here in Pennsylvania that existed before this country was a country. That's not true in other parts of the country. They are newer. It's kind of the same, kind of the same. If you're a big theme park person, in our area here, Great Adventure in New Jersey is not brand new, but new in the grand scheme of things.
When did Great
Knoebels
Adventure
goes back to what, the 20s?
Yes, early 1920s.
Great Adventure was the 80s. I think it first opened in the early 80s.
Okay, that would make sense because I can remember
Even
seeing advertisements about
right,
like
there was
fifth
like, oh, okay,
anniversary.
so,
And,
yeah.
yeah.
Even Dorney Park, which is quite literally 10 minutes from where we are, the old kind of isn't there anymore.
Well,
Not
the
a lot.
original coaster is there in
The
the
wood coaster,
carousel.
there's right, and there's one of the old the whip,
Yes.
the car that goes straight down. It's the elongated oval,
Mm-hmm.
like stretched out
Isn't there an
oval, and then it
old
kind of like
boat
loops
ride?
you around.
I think there's an old
That
boat ride.
whip thing is like all wood, like huge wood beams and the metal floor. That's an old one, but not a lot of the park is old anymore.
No.
Knoebels is old, and it's old in all the best ways. All the best ways. It feels like walking back in time in every good way you can think of. It's comfortable, it's fun, you don't pay to park
No, you don't pay to get in.
and you don't pay to
to
get
park.
in, you just walk in. You want to ride something, then you buy tickets. Want to eat something, you buy food. Want to walk around, enjoy things, and never spend $1, then you don't have to. That's brilliant. That is a lost. It's just lost. I'm not even going to say it's a lost whatever. It's just lost. It doesn't happen anymore.
And it also is the place.
And you are going to want to eat, but
Oh yeah,
because it's brilliant.
it's the place with my dream job. I looked this up one time, and this is true. There is somebody who works at Knoebels. Actually, I think it's more than one person. Their entire job is that they get to travel the country
Yeah.
and find old, like really, really old amusement park rides and save them and bring them to Knoebels. Like that's what they did with Flying Turns, which is this like roller coaster on like roller skate wheels, but like bigger, specially made roller skate wheels.
You are way more energetic and ambitious than me. I was just jealous of the guy driving the train.
Well,
Like I thought that was pretty brilliant. How bad could it be to be a train conductor on an amusement park train all day? I imagine if it was 110 like it was a couple of days this summer, maybe it wasn't the most pleasant thing in the world. But in the grand scheme of things, how bad could it be to drive a train for families all day? That's not too bad. I'll take it.
most of the people who are working the rides actually are pretty happy. People at the food concession stands get a little slammed. But then food concessions anywhere that's a tough gig.
And it was crowded. Wow. They could have been July yesterday. It was crowded. 6:01 Eastern time here on the Kennedy Effect. We are live with you for the 18th. He reminded himself, his left brain told his right brain, or vice versa, that it is still the 18th of September. No scheduled guests, just you all. Comments, questions. The phone number is on the screen. 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, wherever you are across the Facebook universe, the metaverse, if you will. That other side of information is our home group Facebook page. Come on over, ask a question, comment, agree, disagree, yell, scream, something. At this particular juncture, if we get to 7, it will be a bit of a miracle. But we are welcome. You are welcome here. Come join the program. 267-227-9189. Hot101.net. Our name is our web address. It's hot101.net. Apple App Store, Google Play Store, Tune In Radio app, and you can tell Alexa to play hot101.net and TCP, the culture professional from Lancaster, PA. 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. Something else that we noticed on our many miles of driving this weekend is yet another billboard campaign. Now, billboards are an interesting thing in politics. There is a good number of people who would tell you that they do not work, that they are not worth the money, that they are old-fashioned, but yet the right loves to buy them. So if they're so useless, why does the right like to buy them? Both video billboards and static billboards. And isn't it amazing that it's usually always Republican candidates who have the money for them? So we noticed a couple of billboards this weekend from yet another billboard campaign paid for by a group called the Commonwealth Leadership Fund. Well, who the hell is that? You know about the Koch network, most of you in the United States. You have heard of Heritage Foundation. You've heard of Americans for Tax Fairness. You've heard of, who am I forgetting? It's like the big three. It's Heritage, Americans for Tax Fairness, Americans for Progress, which is an ironic name. But you've heard of the Koch network, and you've heard me talk about the Koch brothers and the Koch network ad infinitum on this program. While there are only one Koch brother left, I believe it's Charles. I believe it's Charles. The Koch network has been built out to a point where they have more permanent paid staff, spend more money, and cycle through more money than both of the major parties combined. So the Kochs, let's just make this clear. Well, the Koch again. Their political network is larger than both parties. It has more permanent permanent paid staff than both parties, and it spends more money than both parties put together. Among the things that they advocate for are tax cuts for rich people, tax cuts for big corporations, the ability for large corporations to pollute as they wish. They would like to see the end of any union labor. David Koch actually ran for vice president in 1980 on the Libertarian ticket. If you look at his platform, which basically is now the platform of the Republican Party, which is frightening. It called for an end to the EPA, an end to the Department of Labor, an end to the Department of Education, an end of all child labor laws. If a 7-year-old child wanted to work for $1 a day, well then, gosh darn it, that's just the free market. This is what they espouse. This is what they fight for. And when I say fight, I mean it. And any regular listener to this program knows I hate military analogies in politics. We're allies and we have to fight. We're in a war. I can't stand any of it. I try like hell not to use any of that. The Kochs are fighting. They are in a war. It's a war on anybody who isn't them. If you're not white, male, and a billionaire, they pretty much don't have too much time for you. And they certainly hate labor. Very long explanation to tell you. Well, all right, let me back up one more step. So we know about ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. They have money mixed up in, well, they are the Heritage Foundation. Americans for Tax Fairness. They have money and some hands in the Federalist Society and just a slew of conservative groups.
The Manhattan Institute,
Manhattan Institute,
CRT and
where the where the
anti-equity.
lies about CRT came out. But they also have a network of those groups in every single state in the United States. They have now branched out to several different other countries. And they even have those groups now down into the larger cities and most influential counties. So when we think about the Heritage Foundation as this national think tank, conservative bastion, there's one of those in every single state. Some of the larger cities have their own, and some of the most influential counties in the country have their own. In Pennsylvania, we have something called the Commonwealth Foundation. Right wingers are excellent at naming things the exact opposite of what they actually are. Commonwealth Foundation is neither. It lives up to nothing of the definition of Commonwealth, and it sure as hell isn't a foundation. It's a business. It's a PAC.
It's a, yeah,
It's
a
a-
political
it's a-
action PAC.
Right.
But to your point, I mean, it is brilliant because what does foundation usually evoke in your mind? Most people think of something that's educational or charitable. It's neither of those things.
So, well, right, yeah, when you think of foundation, you think of like the American Cancer Society or
The Heinz Foundation.
right.
Yeah.
Make-A-Wish is a foundation of sorts.
Mhm.
So the Commonwealth Foundation is none of that. Commonwealth Foundation has a very large, beautiful marble building directly across the street from the Pennsylvania State Capitol building. Just so lawmakers can look out the window and be reminded of who owns them. A branch of the Commonwealth Foundation is the Commonwealth Leadership Fund. You would think from that name that they are using Commonwealth Foundation monies and staff to create the next generation of leaders. This too is incorrect. Shocker. Hope you're all sitting down. It's basically just an arm of the foundation. I would assume, and I freely admit that I'm assuming this, that it's more of a bookkeeping. Instead of just buying the billboards and say Commonwealth Foundation, they use this other arm to do this kind of purchase. I'm sure it has something to do with whatever's left of campaign finance laws in this country. There are very few,
Well,
and
it
a
could
bookkeeping,
probably
fundraising sort of thing.
be that. I mean, one might be the C4 and the other one might be the PAC.
So we see two of these billboards today. The fact that we only saw two, I thought was pretty remarkable. They're everywhere. And when the Kochs usually make a billboard buy, they're not shy about it. And as expensive as billboards are, not only do they buy them literally everywhere, they pay to keep them up over very long periods of time, months. It can be, what'd you say it was, $3,000 for a week to have a billboard up in certain areas.
Well, we were in a very, I helped a friend who was running for state senate in 2020. We're in a very rural area, central Susquehanna Valley, to put up a billboard for a month on 11 and 15. Basically right where 11 and 15 split in Shamokin Dam, and 15 starts to take you to Lewisburg, where Bucknell University is. We've had a billboard for a month. For 1 month, it was about $1,000, and then we had taxes. after that. So with the taxes, probably maybe 1,200. And we had another one on 11 between Danville and Sunbury. That was not digital, that was stationary. That was about 500. It was also a smaller billboard, so I think that was the other reason that it was half the cost. It was a little shorter than I would say a typical billboard is. Still pretty sizable, but yeah, between, and that's in an inexpensive area. But with some of the ones that we were seeing were around Harrisburg, here in the Lehigh Valley, going to the Poconos. Those are going to be much more expensive than what we paid to put up for a month.
So what did we see on these billboards? They are yellow and black, so they're very eye-catching. There are pictures of figures on it that are always in black and white, never in color. These particular billboards we saw had pictures of the president, the vice president. Senator Casey, I think, was on there. Gubernatorial candidate Josh Shapiro was on there. Mr. Fetterman was on there.
Casey was an interesting inclusion because he's not on the ballot and he's incredibly
Pretty sure
popular.
he's in, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he's on there, right? Did I see that correctly? Can
I
you
think
correct
he
me?
may
I
have
think he
been
was
on there because I remember looking at it and I think I even said to him, I'm like, that's a little odd of an inclusion because he's not on the ballot and he's pretty popular in rural parts of the state. So
One of the billboards, the first one that we saw, the one we saw yesterday, says in the village or town, which one is smoking? Whatever, village.
Shamokin, I believe, is actually a city. Well, no,
I should think not. Are you serious? Was it big enough? I think it's a town. It's either a town or a village. To be
well,
honest.
there's only technically one town in PA, and that is Bloomsburg. So it might be
So in the
a borough or a small city.
in the middle of Shamokin Dam is this billboard. Again,
Oh, Shamokin Dam. Shamokin
that's
Dam
where we
is-
saw the first one on the way to Knoebels. It was in Shamokin.
Shamokin Dam is a borough. Yeah.
So we see it again, black and yellow, like highlighter yellow. So you can't miss it. It is eye catching. Those following pictures on it, the pictures I outlined in black and white, with a very simple statement. Angry about losing union jobs? Question mark. Vote Republican. Now, at the top of this rant, I told you that the right wing is brilliant at naming things and messaging things to the exact opposite of what they are. No one has crushed unions like the Republican Party because unions usually drive up wages and it builds the middle class. Republicans don't want a middle class. The middle class has wealth. They are generally educated. They vote in their self-interests. So Republicans don't want that. They have been crushing the middle class for 50 years. Private sector union participation when Mr. Reagan came to power was 37% higher, actually 37.6, I think, percent. It is now under 6%. Republicans did that, and they're proud of it. But again, think about the billboard. In a, I think fair to say, depressed town of Shamokin.
That was, well, where its location here is important because it was right over the border. It was after we crossed the river. Crossed the river, went through Sunbury. So it wasn't, if I'm remembering correctly, it wasn't on 11 and 15.
It was an area that probably used to be
It's-
very highly unionized.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That southern half of Northumberland County bled union jobs, and starting in the 80s and then again in the early 2000s, and then I've heard that narrative. I heard that narrative when I was knocking doors in 2020. They have actually started to flip the script on us and talk about how Democrats sold you guys out because Bill Clinton supported and signed NAFTA, and that offshored all your jobs and crushed your union. And Democrats also supported union leadership that was corrupt and made bad decisions. Not talking at all about the fact that NAFTA was actually negotiated by George H.W. Bush.
Actually started in the
I'm
tail
sorry,
end of the Reagan
Reagan
administration.
administration.
It was
Um,
completed during the George H.W. Bush administration, but the votes in the states did not happen until Clinton was in office.
Yeah.
It was passed in Congress by Republican majorities.
Yeah.
Now, nothing was holding a gun to President Clinton's head to sign it, but he campaigned on it and said he would sign it because one of his rationales is that it was going to bring tens of millions of jobs to the United States. All it really did was offshore all of them. Some of you might even remember the televised Larry King debate with then Vice President Gore and Ross Perot, where Perot sat at the desk with the vice president and said, if you eliminate tariffs,
Yeah.
how can you possibly tell people that you're going to create more jobs? You're going to send them all overseas because you've eliminated the cost of importing goods. And even though history tends to still look back on Ross Perot as a bit of a eccentric, I guess is not a crazy word to use, as a bit of a
non-serious candidate.
right. He was right. He was right about all of it.
It was absolutely right. And there was also I think Perot did a somewhat good job of also pointing out that NAFTA was this real false promise that we're going to drop all the tariffs on manufacturing in exchange for getting into these agricultural markets and being able to sell our products. So we're gonna
And that didn't happen either.
well, it did actually happen in a lot of places. Like it did keep the agriculture industry where I grew up afloat. It expanded it. I would say one of the problems with it was because they did get into all those markets, there was more of a push to start farming fewer and fewer types of crops and just, take your whole farm and just plant soybeans. Or just do corn. And it killed a lot of the diversity in agriculture.
I think you could make the argument those markets for US agricultural products. Oh God. Boy, I'm all over the place. For US agricultural products would have opened regardless, simply out of need. Chinese don't have the ability to feed themselves. They had to get the extra food from somewhere. The Russians cannot feed themselves.
But
The Japanese
NAFTA
cannot feed themselves.
But NAFTA didn't get us into those markets. It got us into Mexico, South and Central America to be able to sell it, Canada to be able to shift our products to those countries and to get their products back so that, I can go buy a 69-cent avocado in January.
So that was the first billboard. Then today there was a second billboard. And actually, before I move on, let me just again lay out the history of NAFTA. The original NAFTA wording and treaty was negotiated during the Reagan administration. The tail half of it, actually, the second term. That language was, and the folks who wrote it, there were no union voices in that I am aware of.
No.
In NAFTA. It was big business and banks and financial institutions.
And corporations. I mean, I think you could say there were definitely companies that had union workers. at the table, but it was just the management.
Right, and they didn't want to keep those unions.
Yeah.
Part of it was to try to
Well,
crush
and
them.
that's the kind of evil genius part of NAFTA.
So the wording and the treaty itself is completed under George H.W. Bush, immediately following Reagan's second term. But none of the, again, civics, Constitution says that treaties have to be ratified by the Senate. So during the 1992 presidential campaign, Bill Clinton runs on the fact that he supports NAFTA. Partially, I think, because the polling was telling him that Americans by and large supported it, but Americans didn't understand it. They didn't know what was in it. It is something that, again, that during that 92 campaign, something that Perot was telling people, this treaty's not going to hurt you now. It's going to take a while. But when it does, just wait. I think he's the one that, listen out for the giant sucking sound as your jobs, your industry, your factories all leave to go somewhere else.
Yep.
And they did.
And to
So
be
NAFTA
fair,
was ultimately passed off on by a Republican-controlled Senate and signed into law by President Clinton. And
to be
that's when
fair,
it began.
some of those industries were failing just under their own right. I mean, we're not that far
Or
from,
lack of leadership.
yeah, we're not that far from Bethlehem Steel. A lot of American steel corporations, their management failed to innovate. Bethlehem Steel was so late in adding continuous casting. There were rank and file workers and union members who were demanding to know why they weren't doing that process. And I think it was in a large part, at least what I, was fortunate enough to learn in college, was this growing division socially between management
and labor.
and labor. The people who went to Lehigh University, graduated from Lehigh's business school or engineering school, and then went directly to working at the main corporate office, and they did their 9 to 5, and then they went and played golf at Steel Club.
Mhm.
And they had no idea what the average worker was doing on the line. Life
And
was good,
even-
and they were just sailing by.
And even in the 80s into the 90s, the worker on the line was still using equipment from the 20s.
Yeah.
There've been almost no advancement or investment put back into the plant. So NAFTA goes into effect. And again, you see unions absolutely decimated. So the second billboard. This one we saw on Interstate 80. Coming eastbound. That one was before we got to the picnic. So that one was somewhere in the 380 area, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Again, yellow and black. Pictures of the same politicians on it. And said, mad about inflation? Question mark. Vote Republican. So let's talk about inflation. The quote unquote inflation that we all have been suffering. Interestingly, only became a problem when Americans finally had some money in their pockets.
Isn't that fascinating? Inflation only ever kicks in when middle class wages go up.
Exactly.
I never heard anyone on CNBC or
Because remember, they're all millionaires too.
or any of the business reporting say, hey,
Jim Cramer is a mega multi-millionaire.
Oh,
he
of
was
course he is.
he was a Goldman Sachs
but
banker.
that's not my point. I never heard any of them talk about the danger of inflation kicking in if we forgave the PPP loans.
Right. Exactly. So What do I mean by money in the hands of the middle class? Remember, some of these programs began under ex-President Trump. Additional unemployment benefits, stimulus checks, holds on mortgages, holds on student loans, rent forgiveness and abatement. Because the entire economy was closed. Because we all had to stay home to save the hospitals, to save the for-profit hospitals. Our government told us, and if you remember, under Trump, they didn't ask us to stay home. They told us to stay home. Said the party of small government, free market solutions, and keep the government out of my business. Told us to stay home so that the for-profit hospitals would not be overwhelmed. It was Trump that started putting money in your pockets. And to be fair, in my pocket, those Trump policies helped me keep my house. I'm telling you that right now. I favored them, I agreed with them, and those policies helped me keep my house. They stopped before President Biden was ever sworn in. But what President Biden did do is institute the child tax credit. And he did it in a whole new way. Instead of allowing parents to take that $1,200 write-off off of their taxes and just, when you were doing the tax form before April 5th, put a minus 1,200 on it, he actually gave people cash money, checks, put them in your savings account, put them in your checking account, put it in your pocket, and spend the money on your kids. It instantly, from the very first check that ever went out, cut child poverty in half. Instantly. And that number only grew. Very coincidentally, wink, 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 all of the expenses surrounding raising a child went up. Diapers became more expensive. Formula was more expensive. Strollers were more expensive. Children's clothing was more expensive. Why would that be? And by the way, I guess you could say that's a form of inflation. It's really actually price gouging. We still in the United States have not actually met the textbook definition of inflation. This is why I have told you here for months that this is price gouging. So 40 million families get cash money in their hands to help, to help defray the cost of raising a child. Suddenly, every good, every service surrounding raising a child gets more expensive. Isn't that really amazing? And even though a lot of people are sick of hearing it, there were legitimate supply chain interruptions during the global close of the economy. When you ship nearly all of your manufacturing to one country and they shut down for COVID the same way we did, no one manufactures anything. So the leftover, and because the entire world economy has gone to this extremely tight, just-in-time flow of goods, there was nothing left in any. I see. One of the funny things about building 50 million square feet of warehouses in the Lehigh Valley is no one stores anything. What the hell? I don't know what the hell we're building all these buildings for, because we don't put anything in them.
So can you take a step back, because you've worked in this field? You explained it to me. Can you explain it to people watching?
All right. So just-in-time
is?
inventory. is actually a very valid business practice. It does save money and it does tighten supply chains. It also decreases, if not eliminates, your room for error. So, what do I mean? So, here's a computer mouse that I happen to have sitting next to me. It's actually an Apple computer mouse. So, Apple makes these in China. Shocker. Surprised that you're all sitting down. China, Apple makes these in China. And so let's just use where I live as an example. To extrapolate out for the whole country, supply chains, warehouse hubs, and all that would be way more than anybody's interested in. Let's just use where I live. Wow. A very complex series of calculations, buying trends, number of pieces sold per zip code, and on and on and on, tells Apple that they sell 10 of these every 6 months where I live. Now, these numbers are very oversimplified, but I'm just trying to make a point. So what just-in-time inventory will do is these would end up being sent directly to a store because they're small. So what Apple determines is they sell 10 of them, say every 6 months. So that's an average of 1 point whatever per month, 1.3, I think, doing math off the top of my head. So how many are they going to keep in the store at any given time? 2. Not 10, not 20, just 2. Because all of their analytics tells them they're only going to sell about 1.3 per month. So every month, they get 2 more to this particular store. And it might mean for all of the Eastern Seaboard, there might be a warehouse that has maybe 1,000 of these in them. Because maybe in New York City, they sell 100 every 6 months. Maybe in Philadelphia, they sell 75 every 6 months. So the warehouse will only have whatever is being sold in that given month. There's no room for error. So 1,000 of these come over from China. The warehouse sends 100 to New York, 75 to Philadelphia, and 10 to humble Hellertown. There's nothing left in the warehouse. Nothing. That's your just in time. You only supply to the end user what they sell. There's never extra. And the warehouse only has what it takes to send to each end user what they sell. There's no extra. That's your just in time. Why is this a good business practice? Well, you can narrow exactly how many pieces you need to make. It makes production planning simpler and more streamlined. If I'm Apple and I know I only need to make 10,000 of these for the next 6 months for the entirety of the United States, that means I only need to get maybe 11,000 pieces of plastic, maybe 11,000 little LED lights that's under here. I only need these little pieces of plastic. You can just, instead of just buying 1 million of them, kind of the way we did in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and just making things 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, and we would have a flood of overages, then prices would go down. We're just going to make only what gets sold. And it's a very sound business practice. It actually saves. It's actually, they don't do it as an environmental policy, but it actually has an environmental component. I'm only creating as much plastic as I need. I'm only digging as much metal as I need. But what it's really meant to do is make things cheaper. Not the product cheaper. I don't need a 1,000,000 square foot warehouse if I'm never going to have backstop. If I'm never going to have any extras. I can keep 10,000 different items in my store if I'm only ever going to have 2 of these. Or instead of a 10,000 square foot store, maybe I only need 1,000 square foot store, and that's cheaper for rent because I only have 2 of these. It's also an artificial way to keep prices up.
Well, I was just gonna ask that, like, so there was this one, like, athletic store, um, and I can remember every time it seemed like every time I went to buy a new pair of sneakers there, and I would try them on, and they go, "Oh, these are perfect. These are the ones I want." And they would go,
We don't have
"So sorry, we just sold the last pair of those." Is that an actual like? Is that just me being paranoid, or is that an actual gimmick? Because then you
No,
have to order it,
they very well may have.
and there's
Well,
charge
so-
sometimes for having to order stuff too.
But again, it's kind of just what I said. It's the very specific, actually sneakers are even a lot more specific than just a general computer mouse. All of the analytics show. It's one of the things that started to come with barcodes. When we first started using barcode scanners at checkout counters,
Mhm.
not just in groceries, but everywhere, we now know exactly everything that's being sold at any one given time everywhere on the planet.
Mhm.
Apple at any one given time can click refresh and know exactly how many of these have been sold in any given time period. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, a day, per time zone, per city, per zip code, per country. It's exact.
Now, is
So
that
I don't
like
have to just make 1,000,000 of these, hold them in a warehouse until the store says, hey, I only have a few of these left. Can you send me? They now know exactly how many of these are going to sell on average a day, a week, a month, 6 months, or per quarter. Businesses usually use a quarter, half per year. So I only need to make X plus whatever the plus is that they might decide. Some companies literally decide it's X plus 0. Others will do X plus 5%, X plus 10, whatever. And that's your cushion. But what do you ultimately get to do by this? Especially if you do X plus 0, you artificially inflate the prices.
the price? No, is that makes a lot of sense because I've often wondered, like, I'll go to one Trader Joe's and I'll be like, oh, they have like the pumpkin bagels, and I love those pumpkin bagels. And then I'll stop at another Trader Joe's and they don't carry them. And I'm like, are you gonna order them? And like, no, we don't carry those. So is that another part of it that
Yep.
they are tracking what sells
They
where?
know that, let's use Wegmans since there's
Okay.
more of them and there's more of them where we are. So Kristen and I are lucky enough to have kind of 2 Wegmans that we can get to pretty quickly and pretty easily. So one of them, they both happen to be in Bethlehem, which is interesting. They're just on different ends. But one of those stores might realize, and I'll use your pumpkin bagels. They only sell maybe 10 6-packs of those in a week. The other location, for whatever reason, sells 50 of them. So if the store is restocked weekly, which it isn't, it's actually restocked each night, but we'll use weekly for the sake of my argument. The store that sells 50 in a week is probably from the distribution center going to order 52. It'll make it that tight. The one that only sells 10 will order 10. And when they're gone, they're gone. Tough. Until we get them back. This is what just in time has brought us. And again, as an overarching sort of production stock philosophy, there's nothing wrong with it. It really does actually streamline the process. It's a smarter process instead of, again, like in the late 1800s, 19 teens, 20s, whatever. Instead of Henry Ford making 2 million Model A's and then noticing that they're starting to back up because sales have dropped off, and then he drops production and everything's a reaction. Just in time is forward.
Oh, so it's a
It's
proactive.
almost anticipatory. I have all of my analytics have showed me I only sell this. So I'm only going to make that. If there's an uptick in demand, then we'll make more. But in between, you're out of luck. It's also become a secondary way to force people to shop online because brick and mortar stores are expensive.
Well, that's what I wondered, like with the
And
sporting
you
goods
and I
store.
have done it.
Yeah.
We've done it. You go somewhere, you see, that's it. That's the sneakers I need. And the salesperson says, well, those are the displays. I don't have the right foot, only the left, and we're sold out. So what do? You go to the store website,
Yeah. And you have
or
to
you
pay
go
for
to
shipping.
Amazon, or you go, and you can get it because the e-commerce warehouse, which is different than a distribution warehouse, they might have 100 pairs of those shoes, and they're just waiting for you to order it. And then they ship one box. They only charge you for it half the time, and that's it. And they don't have to have it in the store. Then they can have smaller stores with smaller staffs, because God forbid we would pay anybody. The rents are smaller, the electric bill's smaller, all of it. It's all driven, again, there's nothing wrong with streamlining the process. Henry Ford created an entire new process, and it worked. And it was new, and it was innovative, and he made more money doing it that way. There's nothing inherently wrong with just in time. It's a system that can be very, very highly manipulated for labor, for cost, for procurement, for obtaining natural resources, to manipulate the very existence of brick and mortar stores and the labor inside of them, and to prop up prices.
Well, and that kind of, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. So the solution for labor, we often talk about a lot, is that people are fighting to unionize to get better pay, better working conditions. But for the customer, how do you fight that price gouging? Because a lot of these chains, and especially with e-commerce, which is kind of consolidated markets, like if you bounce back and forth between like Target, Walmart, Trader Joe's, and Amazon looking for, like, I don't know, my seltzer, it's all about within the same price. It might be a quarter to 50 cents difference.
And that's price collusion.
It is, but like, what power does the consumer then have to fight back against that if the government's not going to do anything about it?
I think that's probably where the boycott movement has come in, and the push to shop small. Why is the local coffee house so popular? Because you can pretty much get anything you want whenever you want when they're open. You can't manipulate. Well, I mean, depending on where they're ordering it from, if they want to keep their stores full, it's a different thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough question, but I do think that's where the shop local idea comes in. One local shoe store really can't manipulate its inventory as much or its staff as much. But where just in time helps them too, again, from an analytical point of view, if I own a shoe store and I'm a single operating family shoe store, what the simple process that we've all come used to seeing, the simple barcode scanner, provides analytical information to the owner of that shoe store that tells that person exactly what's walking out the door and when, how many, how often, because how many and how often are two different things. And that's important information that one local shop owner doesn't have to keep 100 widgets if they really only sell 10 widgets in a month. Then you're storing all the rest of them when you could be storing something else, or the storage space could be turned into more retail space, which actually generates more income. So just in time, actually, for a small business, can work very well. When it is done on a global scale to the near total manipulation of big corporations, it has been morphed. It has molded itself into this artificial way to float prices. To me, it has, because again, now down to the end user, you only have exactly in a store what sells. So if they don't have it, they don't have it. Just in time has actually moved it's actually moved into something where if a store is out of things, that people just don't care anymore. That the business itself, just the national chain itself just doesn't care anymore. How many times have any of you gone into a shop? I'm looking for this. Yeah, we're out, but you could check the website. Because the more we go to that, the less brick and mortar there needs to be. Brick and mortar stores are expensive. The only places to me that it seems like are still pushing is probably not the right word, that are happy to have big, large footprint brick and mortar stores are the big box home improvement stores. The rest of them, the smaller, the better. It's just cheaper. So this big, long explanation of just in time, where am I going with all of this? And to be fair, folks, it probably sound like I've gone way down the rabbit hole from a billboard to just in time. So this billboard that we saw was about inflation. Again, the US has not met the textbook definition of actual inflation. Putting mass amounts of money into people's hands began under the Trump regime and ended before President Biden took office. He has extended some rent moratoria and student loan moratoria, but the extra cash was done. And I have talked to you about this on this program before. The largest corporations and the billionaires have decided that the money that you have in your pocket is not yours. They think it belongs to them. And all of the COVID relief that went out, they wanted that money. And they especially wanted that money after an economy was basically closed for 6 months. And certainly partially closed for almost 2 years. For 6 months. I can imagine some people would tell you that we're still not back to normal from that closure of the economy. Happen to think that we are, but some folks would tell you that we're not. This inflation is price gouging. And it began under a Republican administration. Republicans are brilliant at throwing terms and wording and messaging of exactly what they are guilty of on to others. The global interruption of supply chain, which to me, again, is not global. China manufactures everything for the whole freaking planet. They shut down, so we all shut down. Now that's bad business. If you do make cars, you don't make the entire car from the smallest nut and screw all the way up to the tires and body panels in one place. If the factory goes up in flames, your whole business is shut down. That's why something like that is so devastating to the single small business owner. The world has sent its manufacturing to China. They shut down, we all shut down. You combine that with the mass amounts of money that were handed away during a Republican administration. And oh, by the way, what administration was the one that told us all to stay home in the first place? Oh, that's right. It was a Republican administration. And what did they cause?
I think your comment though about it being bad business is so on point, because I think a lot sometimes about the fact that there were some smaller businesses that retooled and adapted very quickly. And there were larger businesses who did not, prepare for disruptions. Like there's a small family owned business outside of Sealands Grove that makes perfumes. And maybe this is not a fair analogy because they weren't completely changing, lines of business, but they shut down the first week, but then were able to get back online and bring their workers back because they switched over their production from perfume manufacturing to manufacturing sanitizer. And then they could be deemed to be essential and they could bring the employees back. There are a lot of business owners, small business owners across the country who got really, really creative and did some really amazing things. Maybe it's unfair, but it seems like some of these companies just kind of waited. Somebody else is going to take care of it. Government will come take care of us.
Well, because don't we always? If there's a business to be bailed out, we'll find a way. It's only socialism when poor people benefit. It's only socialism when workers benefit. But if you're Tesla and you can wipe out, you can take $1 billion in PPE loans and then have them forgiven, that is somehow good government. That's okay. If you have $50,000 in student debt and the president decides to take 10,000 off that, that's socialism, that's irresponsible, that's communism, that's, they use every term and none of the terms make sense. The thing about the billboard, folks, is that inflation is a Republican creation. The billboard tries to tell you that it's Democrats. We have to ask ourselves as an American people, as not just Democrats or Republicans or independents or unaffiliated or Greens or libertarians, that if Republicans are so committed, if they believe so strongly in the policies that they say they advocate for, why do they have to lie to you about essentially everything? The Republican nominee for governor here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Mr. Mastriano, might be a bit of a nut job. I mean, he's out there. He is one of the most right-wing extreme candidates in the country. Should he become governor of Pennsylvania, we will be a police state. It will be a fascist state here. It will be worse than Florida. But I will say, at least he'll look you in the face and tell you what he thinks.
Unless
Why do
you're in the media.
Republicans have to try to lie to you and tell you the Democrats destroyed unions? They know it's a lie. Why do they have to try to tell you the Democrats caused inflation? They know that's a lie. If they had anything to run on, if they had any policy to pursue, any policy to promote, they would tell you, but they don't. So they have to use those billions of dollars, those billions of Coke dollars to lie to you. And the sad bit is that all too many of our friends, family, and neighbors are sucking it all in as if it were truth. I assure you, Republican America, I promise, the grass is green, the sky is blue, and no amount of Coke money can make that change. Truth is truth. That's it. There's nothing different to say about it. We can sit across the table from each other and talk about tax policy. We can talk about tariff policy, education policy, environmental. Let's talk about these things. Republicans destroyed unions. This inflation problem began under them. They are the ones that shut the economy. It's just the truth. It just is. It's not truth because I think it is. It's because it is. So when I see these billboards, I can't think anything different other than there's another lie. But sadly, if the Commonwealth Leadership Fund was to put on a billboard that Democrats made the grass green and the sky blue, you'd have a couple 100,000 Republicans in Pennsylvania saying, we need to fix that. There's no fixing it. And that's a sad state. That's a sad state of affairs. That simply because one particular group told you something, those billboards could be paid for by Doug Mastriano and it says water's not wet. And there's a section of this Commonwealth they're going to believe it, but it doesn't make it true. And that's sad. But it also doesn't mean it has to be that way. And I'll try to bring the conversation full circle by going back to where Kristin and I were very, very pleased and fortunate enough to be earlier today, to see on the ground Democrats doing the work and having those conversations with people. Having those grass is green, sky is blue conversations. The party is nothing without them.
No.
And we need to remember that.
Can I do a slight change of topic?
Of quick. 267-227-9189. Actually, let me reset very
Sure.
quickly. 267-227-9189. Now, see, if you were me, you'd have to write it down. And by the time I reset, I would have forgotten what the hell else I ever even wanted to talk about. 267-227-9189. 267-227-9189 is the phone number. Phone lines are open. No guests. It's just Kristin and I. And if our brains empty of things to talk about, then we are out of here. That's it. Period. Easy Sunday. Following us, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central, 6 Pacific, is Sergeant Mac, The Villain's View on hot101.net and here on that other side of information. 9 p.m. Sergeant Mac with The Villain's View. We will go with you as long as we have something to say. There have been precious few comments, which makes me nuts. We need you today to keep the conversation going. Please feel free to call us 267-227-9189, wherever you might be in your little corner of the Facebook universe, individuals, groups, pages. Thank you very much for allowing us to be part of your day, for allowing us to be a little piece of your group. We couldn't be here without you. That other side of information is our home group Facebook page. That is where I will see your comments and questions and so on. You can agree with us, disagree with us, whatever it is that you wish to do. Please feel free to do it there and talk to us. Hot101.net, our name is our website, Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and the TuneIn radio app. Oh yeah, and tell Alexa to play hot101.net and look for us on TCP, their Facebook page and Roku channel. I think we're still on Tuesday nights. You think I'd know that by now? Been saying that for months. Pretty sure we're still on Tuesday nights on their Roku channel. 267-227-9189. Kathleen says, for example, Shell USA, Cracker Plant, Beaver City,
Yeah.
plastic
Nurdles.
require fracking.
So
I
there's
would agree. Mastriano was, well, great respect, Kathleen. We all think he's alarming. But there are some things, again, not everything. He's not a dumb man. He knows how to campaign. He knows what to hide and what to talk about. But it seems to me if you get him riled up, he's more than happy to tell you what he's thinking. And more times than not, what he's thinking is pretty freaking scary. And it is quite, no exaggeration, no hyperbole. It's fascistic. He wants to run Pennsylvania by decree, really. Wants to turn the legislature into a rubber stamp. If he wakes up in the morning and decides that grass is blue and the sky is green, well, then that's the way it is. If he doesn't like the outcome of an election, he'll just change it. Doesn't like public schools? No problem. I'll take half the funding away from every district in the state, including the ones that vote for him. Because he just doesn't like public education. He doesn't like voting. So all of you are no longer registered to vote. You all need to re-register. And you just watch how difficult it'll all be for us to re-register. Just watch. I got a pretty good feeling if he pulled that off, he'd have about 10,000 rich white guys would be the only ones who can vote. Remember, during a pandemic, when the economy was closed, just Pennsylvania created 3 new billionaires. Just here. Nationwide, we created over 100 new billionaires at a time when we were all ordered to stay home. If that doesn't tell you that the system isn't completely screwed and just upside down, I don't know what does.
That's thickety. But what was I gonna say? Oh, first to your point about having to re-register, Rolling Stone had an interesting article about Doug Mastriano and the fact that, and this will get to my next point, Doug Mastriano is from New Jersey, the great state of New Jersey.
Originally.
originally, but he was registered as a voter in New Jersey until 2021. He was also registered in the state of PA and voting here since 2010. Now, for anybody who's followed Mr. Mastriano or Senator Mastriano's statements about election fraud, that's one of the things that he really hits beyond. Well, he stopped talking about voting machines changing votes because he was going to get sued. And then he went to people here who are not citizens who are voting, dead people who are voting, and people who move from state to state, never update their voter registration. And wouldn't you know, he's one of those people.
As Democratic nominee for the United States Senate, John Fetterman has told us there were incidents of voter fraud in Pennsylvania in 2020. There were three in all of Pennsylvania. And all three of those people voted for Mr. Trump. And it's becoming another tired cliche, but a solution without a problem is what we're talking about. I believe Mr. Fetterman is still waiting for his $100,000 from the Secretary of State of Texas for finding voter fraud in Pennsylvania. There were three instances, and all of those folks voted for Mr. Trump. If you see me somewhat distracted, our cat has come into the room. He is
The fur baby's here.
showing me his big fat belly because we were away and we immediately came home, immediately came up here to do the program. So he's not happy. He wants some attention. And if I could pick you up, I would show you to everybody, but you're being stingy. And he's just out of reach.
And again, this is not me making a comment about New Jersey. I'm very fond of New Jersey. But does it strike you odd that, like, we know of two individuals here in the Valley who were at the insurrection, who live in Northampton County? They're both from New Jersey natives who grew up in the state. Dr. Oz has increasingly gone down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, another New Jersey native. And then you have Doug Mastriano, another New Jersey. It just seems like there are pockets of places where this really boiled up.
And I wouldn't have picked New Jersey if you paid me.
I wouldn't have initially, but
New
like
Jersey is a
recently,
highly educated state. It is a wealthy state. It is a blue state. It is not exclusively blue. There are red areas. But there's way more blue than red. What did you just knock, you?
I don't know.
The
Some,
cat's in there.
I mean, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have until recently, and then it just more and more is kind of, another person.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I continue to be, I wish I could, one of my goals is to get a mental health professional on this program to talk about mental health and the way that we do not treat it as a health priority, the way that we tend to treat it in this country as something completely different. We tend to talk about healthcare. We think about heart, lungs, bones. We forget about our eyes, we forget about our teeth, and we seem to forget about our brains. But one of the things I would also love to ask someone. I know most folks are hesitant to diagnose from a distance. I'm just very interested in what makes a man whom by all indications served our country honorably, how you can take the military oath, put your life on the line to defend democracy, and then want to end it. That still fascinates me, and I don't have an answer for that. And I'm not even going to pretend that I understand it. Mr. Mastriano served in the military and by all accounts served very honorably and was discharged honorably. Where do you in the military get the idea that dictatorship is better than democracy? When you take an oath to protect democracy, but somehow leave that institution, having come to the conclusion democracy is not a good idea anymore. That's frightening. And I think it's something, I know that the current Secretary of Defense, General Austin, retired general, I should say, because DOJ is not allowed to be run by a military officer. It must be civilian. Mr. Austin was a general. He is retired. So he is a civilian. I know he's taken on a review and has made it policy to kind of root these folks out of the military.
Yeah.
At the same time, trying to investigate how these ideas and ideals, I would say principles, but they're not that high, they're not worthy of the term, really. That dictatorship is the way the United States should be, is brewing inside the military. And for an individual human being like Mr. Mastriano, I don't understand it. I don't know where that comes from. What in your military experience?
But I think this is the question, is this a type of mindset, and are these a set of values and views that he had prior to coming into the military?
See,
Like,
from what
Timothy McVeigh,
from what I've seen, no. That's the thing.
what that would be my question, because McVeigh did come into the military with some pretty bigoted views of Black people and other races. He met Terry Nichols and then really got exposed to kind of the full gambit of the Turner Diaries, but that was already there in his family background. I'm blanking on the name of the journalist. It was not Rachel Maddow's series. It was another journalist who did not only a series of interviews with McVeigh and Nichols, but also Timothy McVeigh's father. And Timothy McVeigh's father admitted in the interview that, that was a part of their family's social culture. Were they gonna, dress up and go to the Klan rally? No. But they were, let's put it, unenlightened.
God, forget the name of the book. Mostly it's been chalked up to him reading a certain book. It was not
The Turner Diaries.
It was Turner Diaries. That's it. That if that explosion was going to kick off the race war.
Yeah.
And save the United States from people of color.
But that's always the narrative. They're not coming to destroy, they're coming to save, but in the process of saving, they will actually destroy.
Right. We're very, very fortunate to have listeners quite literally all over the globe. And I'm happier and more blessed about that than you can imagine. But I would have to ask the folks inside Pennsylvania, from any political party that you might consider yourself, anywhere on the spectrum. Mr. Mastriano has said that he's coming to save Pennsylvania. To save it. From what? No one has asked him, and he certainly hasn't provided too much of that information. What does he come to save us from? I remember it was, I would say it was probably, if I remember right, it was during the Trump regime. A couple of Facebook groups grew here in the Lehigh Valley, and they were called Restore. Restore Northampton County and Restore Lehigh County. And they were either nice enough or crazy enough to let me in their group. I'm still in the Restore Northampton County group. I don't really ever post there, but I'm in it. But I did ask both groups. I asked to join them. I knew what it was. And they let me in. And my very first post to both groups was, thank you for welcoming me. I appreciate it. Because they certainly didn't have to. What are we restoring exactly? Like, what are we restoring Northampton County to? What are we restoring Lehigh County to? What are we restoring it from? No one had an answer. No one had an answer. This is one of the tenets, I think, of the right-wing movement. There's no answers.
Yeah.
There's just questions. There's no conversation. There's just shouting. There's no platform. There's no future. There's no guidance. There's no leadership. It's just frothing at the mouth. We're mad at this, at that. And if you're not mad yet, we'll find something that makes you mad. All the while stealing every last bit of wealth from you that we possibly can.
Well, you and I have talked about this too. I mean, you can even see it in
And
a
I
lot of.
think we're probably wrapping up at 7:30.
Oh yeah, my
Comments
neck is.
have stopped and no one is ringing the phone.
But the Patty Chayefsky movie network. If I go into any of these groups, these Restore groups or these Patriot Coalitions groups, they often use this meme of Howard Beals in the famous scene where he's standing up and he's yelling.
Mm-hmm.
They have taken that as a message of empowerment, misreading the scene because he's coming in, he's lost his mind, he's lost control.
Yep.
He's lost everything. He's out of a job, he's lost his sanity, and he's just impotently screaming into the wind.
They have taken it upon themselves in the modern right-wing movement that the outrage is the solution.
Yeah.
If you're outraged, look, I think it's madness. I don't understand it. Science tells us there is only one human race. We simply have different physical characteristics. So if the fact that a black man has become a mason, that's a stonemason, I should say, a bricklayer, and makes $50,000-$60,000, lives in a decent neighborhood, takes care of his kids, and they go to a public school. If that's the thing that enrages you, and again, I have no idea why anyone would be enraged by that, but there are people who are. It's a fact of life.
Well, that would get into a long.
Being enraged by that is not a policy. If you were a union worker and your union folded because of NAFTA or because Republicans have made it easier to crush unions, your outrage at losing your union is not in and of itself a policy position or a solution to that issue. The right wing has done an excellent job of doing a very, very scary thing. And it's something that Oz is trying to do. Oddly enough, at his heart, I don't think he gives a crap. I think that's why he's doing it so poorly. Mm-hmm. At least Mr. Mastrianos is a true believer that the outrage itself is what he's running on. He can't tell you how he's going to solve any of it. Because honestly, he doesn't have a hell of a lot of policy positions other than cut all public school funding in half. Everybody has to re-register. And basically, whatever I don't like, I'll change it.
I think Mastriano also is using it as a deflection because Mastriano does, I think, have a policy goal that he wants. And what he wants is the removal of the separation between church and state. He does not want public education. He does not want a separation between church and state. He wants religion to be empowered to exercise the power of government. But if you go out and you flatly campaign on
Yeah,
that,
no
you're
one
never going to get
individual's-
elected.
Well, plus no one individual state has the. We would
No,
hope
but
the
that's
federal
what,
government would help us with that one.
but that's what those individuals in Mastriano's ilk are pushing. That is probably the only thing that is left in the Republican Party as a strain of thought. I mean, on policy, I grew up in an area that is so over the moon about Mastriano because this is exactly what they've been waiting for.
Careful what you wish for. Look at the number of people who wanted Roe overturned, and now at least a third of them have gone home. Job done, folks. Catch y'all later. I'm going home.
Well, it's never bad to be the dictator if you're the dictator.
Folks, that about does it for us. Here's the plan. We will return next week. My guest is Mr. Ben Watts. Ben is running for the United States House of Representatives from a district in Oregon. Really psyched to have Ben come on the program. Really psyched. So, because I love having people from different parts of the country. Obviously, I am here. We are here in Pennsylvania, so we're Pennsylvania based. I'm guilty. We do get a little Pennsylvania centric at times, but we live here. I think we all tend to get a little bit centric on the area in which we live. So that's why it's really exciting to talk to Mr. Watts, to get a really different point of view, quite literally from the other side of the country, and just get a different perspective. Going forward from there, let me just check so Mr. Watts will be with us next week. That's the 25th. Erica Vogt, who is a candidate for PA State Rep, will be here on October 2nd. 9, 16, and 23 are still open. Not sure what to do with Halloween yet. We usually don't do a show too close to Halloween because families are usually out trick-or-treating, so we're not sure what we're doing with that quite yet. You can always find me. You can always get to me, contact me, have a conversation with me electronically. If you missed, well, let me say that other Kennedy at gmail.com is the email address for the program. If you have questions, if you want to keep the conversation going, if you have guest suggestions, easily the single worst thing about this program is trying to land guests. We always manage to do it, but it's not fun. It's a pain. We have to ask an awful lot of folks to come here before we actually get something set up. So please, I'm asking if you do have guest suggestions, please email me thatotherkennedy at gmail.com, thatotherkennedy at gmail.com. If you missed any of the program, George will work his magic and hopefully we won't get banned by YouTube this time. That would be nice, right? But are still the best place to see any of the programs that you may have missed. If you can't really sit with us for many hours on end, and I know that there's an adage in radio that says that the audience turns over every 7 seconds. I really don't think that's true. I think it's longer than that. I know people listen to us for longer periods of time, but if you ever miss any of the program, if you can't stay with us, if you can do the first half hour, then you have to duck out, then you come back. If you ever miss any of the program, youtube.com is still the best place to go. youtube.com/that other side of information. That is our YouTube channel. And we hope that you will check that out. On all of the social media, the LinkedIn, Twitter, all of it, there's either a like or subscribe. We ask you to continue to do that. We ask you to continue to invite people to the Facebook page. I think people who talk about the demise of Facebook are entirely too giddy and too happy to do so. I still find that Facebook is exceptionally effective to reach people. We do have a Twitter at That Kennedy Talk. I am on LinkedIn at Jeff Kennedy. You can always find me. We want you to be part of the program. We usually actually do better sometimes when there's no guests. Tonight, just a quiet night. I don't know if a lot of people are watching football. I don't know if I don't know what. I don't know. It's just a quiet night. Maybe it's just one of those nights. Let me see. I think that's it. I think that's it for us. We will be with you next week. We will return next week. That is it for us for this week. I guess no guests. We didn't get any calls. We didn't get anything. So not a problem. It happens. We have a short show every now and then. This will just be one of them. Maybe I'll go get something to eat. Or maybe I'll just have ice cream. I don't really know right now. Well, we'll do some. We'll just relax. It'll be a quiet night. What can I say? We need to unpack. Maybe I'll do that. But we will be back next week with you live from I almost said from 8 p.m. That's crazy. From 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific for Mr. Watts. He's actually going to join us dead in the middle of the day. For him out there, really prime campaigning time. So it's extremely nice of him to be joining us. That other side of information is the Facebook page. It is also the YouTube channel. It is also the Instagram. It is also the Patreon. It is also the TikTok. That Kennedy Talk at That Kennedy Talk at That Kennedy Talk is the Twitter, and that other Kennedy at gmail.com. Again, you can send anything that you wish, questions, guest suggestions. But that about does it for us for this week. For the entire clan, I say that with love. I don't the whole group, the whole family at TCP, and that's Whitney, Marquise, Andrew, and Taekwon. For DJ Lex, DJ Earl, and all of the team and family at hot101.net, for George and Lynn Dare, and of course for April Riddick, and for Kristin, of course, for sitting with me and putting up with me here tonight. That is it for us until next week. Again, September 25th, Ben Watts is our guest, 5 p.m. Eastern time in the United States. Until then, we thank you for being with us. We appreciate every single one of you. Please take care of yourselves and each other. We will see you next week. Have a terrific rest of your Sunday evening.